So, like, I am not even gonna lie to you. I love these. Unironically. This one here, this one is obviously my favorite. Look at this scruffily young rabble-rouser. Look at his face. He's like, fuck yeah, dude, I just got arrested for the first time. I'm a real communist now. Important rite of passage for any young lefty. I'm proud of him. Boys, if your hair doesn't look like this, do not even fucking speak to me. To be honest though, I think they're all kinda hot in their own way. See, look at this one. Look at that stash. That is a luxurious, fine quality mustache. Like, somebody killed a mink and stapled it onto some dude's face. This thing is pure, unadulterated testosterone incarnate. Oh look, he has fingerprints. Old-timey black and white dudes in textbook photos aren't supposed to have fingerprints or fingers. They are nothing more than acorporeal historical abstractions who exist purely for the purpose of getting name-dropped during political arguments. But, I guess not. I guess he had fingerprints and, my mind is fucked. Ooh, I don't know about this one. He looks a little raggedy here, a little disheveled, you know, like he's been out on the road a few days, running from the law. He looks like he probably smells kind of bad, actually. Probably smells like a week's worth of dried sweat and tobacco smoke and vodka and adventure. Everybody get on the ground, this is a bank robbery. Open up that chest, girl, 'cause I'm gonna steal your heart. Ugh, I'm going to hell for that. Listen to me, ladies. If your man is not a gunslinging, bank-robbing, ass-kicking communist revolutionary outlaw, why are you wasting your time with him? See, this is why I can't go to church anymore. Like, I can't stand before my God in my community with this on my soul. I'm in no state to receive the Eucharist after staring at these all day. How am I gonna bring this up in confession? Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I kinda wanna fuck Joseph Stalin. I'm assuming you know who that is, because he used to run with your crowd back in the day before he dropped out of the seminary to become a weatherman. I don't think he went on to do anything more interesting after that, though. Dear Lord. Am I a tanky? Does this make me a tanky? Is there like a little tanky demon in the back of my brain telling me to, I don't know, go read a book by Grover Furr? Because I won't do it. I'll be curious and I'll look it up on Amazon, but I'm gonna give up when I see that I have to actually pay money to read it. Ugh, I'm not a tanky, okay? I'm just a heterosexual who doesn't get out much and who also has a complex Freudian relationship with authority figures, which causes me to fetishize both the rebel and the tyrant. I'm not proud of this. I'm not. I didn't choose this. This was forced upon me by cruel and capricious nature. I didn't choose to go through puberty and have my brain all filled up with brain chemicals. It's something I have to live with. Actually, now that I think about it, fuck you. Fuck you. And also, shut your fucking mouth hole, because TBH, I didn't choose this, and so I don't have to apologize for jack fucking shit. No, you shut the fuck up and you listen to me for a damn second. Ladies, our whole lives we are ashamed for our sexuality. Oh yeah, you know what shame I'm talking about. Maybe you feel it too, sister, deep down in your guts. You remember when you were a kid, those first little bursts of brain chemicals bursting into your brain, the first dirty thought you ever had, the first time you ever had a crush on your high school history teacher. His name was Mr. Milo, and thinking back, he was definitely a comrade. Like, he had a Soviet flag hanging on his wall, and he taught me what the word bourgeoisie meant. And you kind of sort of know what those thoughts and feelings are and where they come from, but you also know that it's PG-13, and you might not even be 13 yet, so that shit won't fly, so you bury it. You bury it deep, deep down when you could be exploring it, could be experiencing it, even just in your own mind. But you don't. And when we grow up, we don't know how to feel pleasure. We don't know what we want or what we like deep down. We're ready to take bullshit and deny ourselves of things we really do deserve. It took me a long time, way into my adulthood, to unlearn that bullshit, to realize that I was a normal human with normal human appetites and not some crazy pervert sinner. Like, it's not the only form of self-hatred and anxiety that I had to unlearn, but that little bit of shame was a hard one to get over. In my case, it really didn't help that I was Catholic. That's the real reason I don't go to church anymore. Funny how much happier and healthier you become when you stop subjecting yourself to an hour of reactionary propaganda every week. Now men are allowed to indulge in all sorts of fantasies and fetishes. Men are catered to in all sorts of ways. They can find it free on the internet. There's rape fantasy porn, incest porn, hentai about underage Japanese schoolgirls, and nobody blinks. But girls, we don't tend to fantasize about being violent. A lot of us fantasize about thrills, about danger and excitement, and about being taken out of our comfort zones, which is the whole appeal of a bad boy. And this, women catering to their own fantasies, that is what gets labeled anti-feminist. Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, books written about women, by women, for women, catering to female fantasy, labeled as sexist because the male leads aren't church-going Boy Scouts. Girls who fantasize about chilling with bad boys are at best labeled as crazy and self-destructive, and at worst are labeled as complicit in the subjugation of themselves and their sisters. Not even actually going after bad boys, just fantasizing about it or writing about it. Once again, somehow, the bad behavior of men is our fault due to the fact that we dare to be sexual. Hell, we girls aren't just shamed for being sexual, or shamed for looking attractive even. God forbid we have any type of sexual agency or desires of our own that don't conform to the agendas of the church, our fathers, our hypothetical future husbands, random catcallers on the street. Now, obviously, I don't think that we should encourage teenage girls to be sexually active. But I do think that teenage girls should be given comprehensive sex education that encourages them to see themselves as normal, healthy individuals whose thoughts and feelings are valid, who are allowed to be themselves, who are allowed to say yes to what they want, and perhaps more importantly, allowed to say no to what they don't want. This is especially important for LGBT plus girls and LGBT plus children of all genders. And among these things that we teach to teenagers, there is absolutely no room for purity culture, no room for Catholic guilt, no room for reactionary ideologies that preach obedience and control and adherence to arbitrary and dogmatic codes of conduct that serve no practical purpose to modern life. Well, they do serve a practical purpose, but that purpose is class-based society, not the interests of the girls themselves. It is my belief that such experience-affirming, sex-positive education promotes good mental health, encourages physically healthy behavior, and protects young people from sexual abuse by giving them knowledge and tools to assert their own agency. Class-based society happens to be based on the inheritance of property and titles from father to son, which requires certainty among men in knowing who their children are, which requires chaining women into monogamous relationships that really are not natural or healthy, and also tightly controlling our behavior and sexuality. Friedrich Engels and Alexandra Kollontai can tell you all about that. The patriarchy, as we currently know it, exists for the purpose of upholding capitalism. For me to radically accept myself as a sexual being with socially inappropriate, though harmless, fetishes, it's therapeutic for myself in overcoming shame and self-hatred. It's liberatory for myself as a woman in that I am rejecting the strict behavioral codes that are forced upon me, and it's liberatory for me as a working class person in that it works to destroy class-based society itself. I wanna fuck Joseph Stalin. What are you gonna do about it, bitch? I'm gonna build myself a big fucking time machine out of a refrigerator box and go back in time and fuck Joseph Stalin. And try not to die of typhus and smallpox in the process, because holy fuck, those photos are old. Oh, but he killed like a million bajillion people though. Yes, please remind me of how dangerous and powerful a man is when you're trying to kill my mood. Although I think there's something else in these photos I like besides their atypical eroticism. These photos tell a story. Joseph Stalin was a fascinating and complicated figure. During the time that he was in power, a lot of innocent people got hurt or killed due to a combination of incompetence and a callous indifference to human life. If you're from America, that should sound familiar. He especially targeted true revolutionaries who might object to the methods of his police state. But he also accomplished a lot of things that objectively improved life for the average person in the Soviet Union. Modernizing the economy, setting up a rigorous Soviet welfare state, which had the ultimate effect of doubling the average life expectancy in the country. The thing is, even the most gross parodies of socialism almost always are better than the regimes they replace. Funny how a bare minimum level of investment in your own population can have such drastic positive effects. Stalin the dictator also exhibited the same contradictions as Stalin the gangster revolutionary. In his pre-revolutionary days, he did plenty of seedy things that got people killed and allowed innocent third parties to be caught in the crossfire. Marxists nowadays completely disavow individual acts of terrorism due to the fact that it harms working class people, and you can't actually achieve systemic change by destroying just a few buildings or killing just a few people. Stalin and his gang didn't seem to understand this, or they didn't care. But this first picture here, this was taken in 1903. This was long before the bank robberies, extortion rackets, or assassinations. He wasn't arrested for anything violent or vicious. He was arrested for joining strikers on a picket line. Workers in 1903 were not striking for better health care or paid vacation or time and a half pay on weekends. They were striking for their lives. It wasn't uncommon for people to work 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, for poverty wages that barely kept their families fed and clothed, in dangerous, unhealthy conditions that meant many workers died young. Just organizing a union was illegal in Tsarist Russia, as it was in many other capitalist countries. In these mugshots, we see the violent repression the capitalist state is willing to inflict upon those who question the status quo. We see in these photographs the image of the class struggle itself. And in light of this brutal struggle, it's not hard to see why Stalin turned from a bright-eyed, energetic revolutionary to the hardened gangster he became. You can watch this process if we line up the photos chronologically. How his face grows colder, meaner, and more cynical. The same can be said for countries, too. The main idea of socialism is that we humans can't survive or thrive without the support of our communities. One by one, revolutionary movements around the world rose and were crushed in the early 20th century. An insurrection of West Virginia coal miners failed when the military brought out its nascent air force. The German Revolution fizzled, and Rosa Luxemburg was murdered. Benito Mussolini turned traitor and became the face of fascism itself. Only the October Revolution succeeded, but it was left to fend for itself against invasions by capitalist countries and fascists, and attempts at sabotage from within. Under such conditions, Soviet leadership also grew cold, mean, and cynical. They set aside the dreams of freedom for working people, and turned to violence and paranoia to survive. The same process that Stalin underwent in his early days. It's not hard to see why the new ruling class of bureaucrats and officers would choose him as their figurehead. But the most important thing to remember about these mugshots is that they were few out of many. Thousands of left-wing activists were arrested and photographed during this era in history, in the Russian Empire and beyond, including here in the United States. People fought and died during this period for the cause of human emancipation. And although global revolution ended in failure, the struggle wasn't in vain. Through it, we won the 8-hour workday, the weekends, basic safety regulations, child labor laws, a minimum wage, an actual chance at a decent life. The October Revolution was not just a revolution for Russians. Workers all around the world identified with it, rooted for its success, and closely followed the affairs of the Soviet Union and the things that happened to it and the things it did. In 1919, American socialist Eugene Debs declared proudly, "From the crown of my head to the soles of my feet, I am a Bolshevik, and proud of it." Here's his mugshot, by the way, if you want to see it. It's thanks to the October Revolution that we won these minimum reforms. It showed the ruling class that, no, working people do not have to put up with their bullshit. It gave teeth to our demands. So, respect the troops, kids. Freedom isn't free. This struggle is not over. As I write this in June of 2020, what very well may be the Second American Revolution is underway. Yeah, I'm embarrassed I'm attracted to Joseph Stalin's mugshots, but I'm more embarrassed still that I am sitting at home making YouTube videos while people I know are out in the streets, enduring brutal repression in its modern forms. Maybe one of these days I'll pluck up my courage and go out and join them, but right now I'm working behind the front lines. I don't have the balls to fight that type of fight. But, Joey here did, and I have to give him credit for that. That's what I really see when I look at these photographs, and that's the real reason this picture is up on my wall.